it's Cathy Zielske. So happy to be with you here on the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel as part of our fun series, 5 Ways in 5 Days, a series of free classes to teach you all kinds of different ways of using specific products. My product focus today is all about stencils. So I'm excited to show you 4 cards that feature 5 different techniques. We're gonna double up some on the cards, and you're gonna see how it all comes together in the end. So let's take a look at the basic product that I'm using today. Here are the simple pattern stencils that I designed for Simon Says Stamp. They are US A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and they have these fun geometric pattern shapes to go in the center of any card. The first technique we're going to do is one of my favorites, which is dry embossing. Dry embossing simply impresses whatever you are using, whatever stencil pattern you have, into your cardstock. And if you don't want to get fancy, this is such a great way to add that texture, and light and shadow sort of pick it up, and all you do is you set up your sandwich for embossing. So for me, it's having the rubber mat and then place the paper and the stencil in and the little embossing plate. I run it back and forth a few times, and when you lift it out, you will see the dry embossed pattern. So when I lift this up, well, you can actually see the deboss right on that side. And when I pick this up, well, let's get it open here. Ah, there it is. Look at that cool dry emboss. Now you can leave that as is. You can do it on any color of cardstock, right? But I thought it would be fun to create sort of a modified partial rainbow onto this particular piece of paper. So I'm just going to leave the stencil in place, so I'm adding my color over the embossed image, right? Loading up rosy cheeks, and just tap a little off so I don't bring too much ink down, and I'll go ahead and blend. I have my PET, the Positively Everything tool, here off to the side, and since I've started using this for ink pads, I haven't looked back, because you can put your ink pad on it and you don't have to hold your ink pad while you're loading up ink, which is kind of nice, especially if you're trying to hold a stencil in place, or if you just need that extra hand to get something done. So bringing in color number 2, which is Teeny Bikini. Now you may be wondering, what brushes am I using today? And these are the brand new blender brushes from Simon Says Stamp. They are amazing. They come both in a large size and a small size. They are all different colored handles, so you can match them to your ink families. I am so excited about the quality. By all means, if you are looking for blender brushes, check them out. All right, coming in with Melon. And the last color here is the Lemon Chiffon. I'm just going to blend that over the bottom to create this really fun blend. So you can do this with anything you've dry embossed, right? I could have left it, as I said, but I thought, you know what, we're going to add the color. And it's a little hard to see this on camera, but it's got color and texture. It just isn't really picking up in the light, but you're going to have to trust me. If you run your finger over it, oh, it's there. I love it. So fun to do this. All right, so there's the panel. Now we can move on. The next technique I'm going to share with you is just a simple tone-on-tone ink blending. But I'm going to use Pixie Spray. This is a really great tool for using stencils, especially if your stencil has anything delicate and you really want it to stay adhered to your paper. You simply spray the Pixie Spray on one side of the stencil, just let it sit for about a minute, and then it becomes lightly tacky, and it's very easy to pop it down, and it stays down without harming your cardstock below. So I like to use my Score Buddy to line things up perfectly, and again, this is a US A2 size, so if you just pop that right into the corner and line them both up, you're good to go. Now this is cotton candy cardstock, so I thought I'd show you what it looks like to just do a single color in the same tonal family. This is cotton candy ink, but now because of that Pixie Spray, those little bands, they're not going to lift up, because I don't know if you've ever stenciled and you're going to town and part of the stencil lifts up and you get ink underneath where you didn't want it to be. That is why Pixie Spray is amazing. And not only that, You can use the same application of pixie spray more than once, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. But this tone on tone thing, this is such an easy way to create a harmonious, monochromatic area of stenciled whatever onto a piece of cardstock. I'll lift this up. It'll dry back a little lighter, but it's just so simple, and you know, because you've used the same color cardstock and ink, it's going to be fantastic for color. Now I'm going to cut this down a little bit, the piece that I dry embossed and ink blended on, so that I have a perfect little panel ready for my card. And I'm also going to cut this one down. I like to trim my panels down. I never do them by hand. I always just use the little layers dies. But here's a little tip too. If you ever get something impressed from your die cut plates, you can always use an adhesive eraser and it will lift it off easy and peasy and breezy. All right, I cut out some really tiny little greetings. I've got a piece of craft foam here, and whenever I have tiny little greetings like this, I do use the craft foam to pop them out if they don't already pop out. I'm going to cut extras of these, and then I will use craft bond that I spray this adhesive, again, in that same box, right? I just layer in a piece of paper that I can throw away when I'm done to add the adhesive, and I'm going to stack 3 together. So, got that cute little hugs. Isn't this cute? They're such cute little greetings. I love them. Christina Werner's handwriting. I tell you, she's amazing. Amazing. All right. Getting that lined up and stacked together. And there we go. Looks great. I'll do the thanks off camera as well. Just going to press that down so that it really adheres. And those also will be glued. I cut a piece of Simon vellum using one of my sentiment label dies. I thought this would be really cute and a subtle way to finish this card project. I'm going to create my card base. This will be a top folding note card. Again, US A2, so 4 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 tall. I'm going to give that a nice press there, right? Fold that down using my Teflon bone folder. Now, what I'm going to do here is take my Simon dot runner. I'm going to tape this little vellum into place with some low-tack tape just because I don't want it to shift when I flip it over. I know there's not a lot going on, right, with the card. And sometimes I feel like when your cards are really simple, you know, take an extra step, tape it into place, flip it over, and now I'll take my dot runner, just put a couple little swipes there, and then when I fold over the vellum, it will adhere perfectly. I'll give that a press also to hold it in place and repeat it on the other side. I love doing little vellum wraps. I think this is going to be really cute. And then I can take the purple tape off and the vellum is in place and ready to go. All right. Next, I'll add some foam tape to the back of that panel so that I can pop this up onto my card base. Give it a little bit of dimension. Remove the backers, line it up with that beautiful, glorious framing margin space, and then I'll add a little liquid glue to the back of the hugs. Now, I only really needed to add it into the centers of the letters. I didn't need to go up top there, and you'll see why in a minute, because I wanted this really to feel like it was floating on the vellum, and I don't want it to adhere to the actual ink blended panel. So I realized that when I was placing it, and then I thought, don't press the top of the H and the bottom of the G, also known as ascender and descender. Don't press those down, let it float. Isn't that cute? And again, you run your finger over there, it's got dimension from the dry embossing and that gorgeous color ink blend. To finish out the next card, I decided to just add my dot runner right to that tone on tone blended panel. Keep it really simple here and pop it right on the card base for a nice flat card. I'm adding my liquid glue to the thanks, right? Just dotting it on there and then popping that up right in the center. So simple, right? But this is just a very simple, elegant design. Basic. You could knock these out in a heartbeat. You could create a fun card set with this idea. But we'll pop that down as well, press it until it's all glued. So cute. But I decided maybe hugs isn't done. So I sprinkled a few sequins around the panel, and here we go. We're going to add them to this card. Although it didn't want to come off, boop, there you go. I think the end of my crystal katana was getting a little gummy from all of the sequin placement, also known as, in our house, booping. But I got it, it's there, and here we go. Again, adding my glue, and boop, there, that one stayed good. I think this is a fun way to finish off a very simple design, right? There's actually quite a bit going on, but it's still, boop, very clean and simple. But just the sequins add a little extra, a little zhuzh. All right, boop, boop, that one doesn't want to come off. And the final sequin, and boop, just like that. 5 is such a great number, right? It cascades down, and that's the finished card. So there are the first 2 cards featuring, 3 techniques, right? Love it. But now I want to use the same stencil that still has its tackiness, right, with a medium. Is it media or medium? Plural, singular? You call it tomato, I'll say tomato, but I'm going to use this funky Ranger Stickles glitter gel, and it is funky. Wait till you see all the stuff in here. Like, I started stirring it around and I thought, what the heck? It has got glitter, it has got sequins, and we are going to spread this down through the stencil, which is still sticking beautifully to the cardstock thanks to the pixie spray. You can get multiple uses out of your pixie spray, and some people ask, well, how do you store your stencil? I just put it right back into a little Avery L pocket that I keep my stencils in, and it doesn't matter if it sticks because it's not going to stick permanently, and then you just pull it out. And when you're really done, you wash it in hot soapy water, which I will definitely be doing this. But here, I'm trying to keep a very level spread. Oh, I almost wiped that away when I could be saving it. A level spreading, if you will, of this funky, funky glitter gel. And I wanted to make sure, because it has this dark sort of black glitter, I wanted to make sure that each band had enough darkness to it so that it all had the same uniform appearance. To peel it off, you lift and pull straight up. Don't hesitate, no hesitation. And now I will just wipe all of this off with the paper towel, get as much off as possible, and then I'm going to let this thing dry for a while. In fact, I put it in front of a small fan because it took a while, but let me tell you, we're gonna do something else while that's drying. The next technique is to use alcohol ink and alcohol lift ink with Yupo paper. Now, Simon has Yupo paper. I have some wonderful Tim Holtz alcohol inks and the lift ink. And this is something new for me. I had never tried this before. I also have this old little puffer tool that I bought in a wild moment where I thought I was going to get really into alcohol ink. But after this card project was done, let me tell you, I think I need to revisit alcohol ink. So I've got blending solution as well. And what I'm going to do is take these 3 colors and just kind of go random. Now, I could have pulled out my glass media mat, but I thought, you know what? I'm just going to keep this on paper. We're going to see what happens here. I'm going to sprinkle them down, add the blending solution, and then I'm going to start puffing, okay? This is a squeeze puffer thing. You just start squeezing and moving it around. Now, I started to panic when I noticed the orange and the green because when they overlap, it gets a little muddy. Can you kind of see that? So I thought, okay, let's get the green off into its own area. But for those of you who have never used alcohol ink, it really is kind of cool when you're first doing this. Well, and I consider myself an extreme novice because it is going to look different every time, right? You don't really know what's going to happen. And I didn't know if this was going to be cool or a hot mess. But let me tell you, the more I kept puffing on it and adding the blending solution and being careful with my placement, the more I thought, this is really cool. Like, I'm loving how this is coming together. So, ink and puff. Ink and puff. And I suppose if you don't have a puffer tool too, if you even had a straw, you could blow through the straw to direct the ink, you know, but you got to have that blending solution, right? Because that helps things move. And I actually thought this was kind of cool because once I blended this, it almost looked like the blue was creating sort of a band through the center. And again, sometimes you don't know when to stop either. That's the other thing with alcohol ink. Every time you add it, you're going to change the look. But once I had this to about right here, is that when I stopped? I think I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna let this dry. So here's how I'm gonna use the lift ink. I have a dome blender foam top, and I'm gonna take the stencil, and I actually decided I was gonna tape it down because I don't want this to move, right? I want to keep it in place. And I did let the panel dry for about, I don't know, 20 minutes. I'm gonna smush into the pad to pick up this alcohol lift ink. And the pad's going to get messy, and I'm okay with that because for this process, I don't think it matters, right? We're gonna lift up this ink in through the stencil. I'm smushing in, and what you will see is how it starts to lighten. It is lifting the alcohol ink off of the Yupo paper. It's just really cool to watch this happen. Again, my ink pad's getting mucked up, but I figure, you know, it's probably going to be fine. You can also do this with a stamp, right? You can ink up a stamp, stamp that onto anything you've blended with alcohol ink, and it will lift. But look at how fun that is. I loved it. It almost looks like you've overlaid vellum somehow. Do you know what I mean? Love that look. I did another panel, right, where I did the same process. This time I left orange out, and I decided to go through and again lift that ink by smushing through the stencil. And look how cool that is. I actually didn't make anything with this. I just wanted to show you the different looks of the stencils. So there you go. But I love the one on the left. Like, I just think it is so cool. But I decided to take a little of this Tim Holtz, it's like a collage paper. I didn't want to muck up my panel, right, because it was still a little sticky and tacky. So I actually taped this into place to protect. And then I was able to pop that panel up on a card base, and I'm going to take more liquid glue here and just add it on to the back of these lovely strips. And these are sentiment strips, by the way, from a set I designed. I think it's called Send Wine and Hugs. I could be wrong, but it'll be wine. I mean, fine. Okay, I meant wine. I love the look of this. Like, I don't know. There's something about it with that funky stencil and the alcohol ink and the stark black stripes. I kept walking by this card hours after I made it and saying to myself, I like that. That looks pretty good. But isn't that fun? That's the finished card. Not adding anything else to it. That is funky and graphic and good to go. And, of course, I can do something with the other panel as well. But not for this video. We're going to move on. Now, this is dry, and check it out. Like, look at the sequins that are in. It's like it's very galactic. So here's what I did. And I actually put an excessive amount of foam tape on the back just to really keep it nice and flat. And then I stamped this happy anniversary of your terrestrial debut from another stamp set I designed for Simon, because I thought this whole thing felt a little galactic. You know what I mean? Because it just has that galaxy feel. I'll add some liquid glue to the foam squares just to make sure I can wiggle them right into place. And look at how cool that looks with the stenciled area, the funky glitter gel. Ah, I love this. And it just, in person, the shine is insane. So that's another technique, right? That you can take your mediums and use your stencils to create some magic like that. So I hope this video inspires you, to try these different techniques, whether it's tone on tone, whether it's dry embossing or ink blending through a stencil and do them together, more bang for the buck, which is fantastic, right? And then, of course, you've got your alcohol ink and doing lift ink with a stencil to bring that image out of any alcohol ink background. Plus, using stencils with any sort of gel, paste, or other medium to create some funky goodness as well. And don't forget about the pixie spray, which will hold your stencils in place while you are trying out all this goodness. I hope this inspires you to break out your stencils and give some of these fun techniques a try. Be sure to check out all of the other videos in this special 5 Ways in 5 Days series, and we'll see you back here with more card videos on the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel soon.